Okay, Kim, so number 2 of this recording. In the previous chat, you alluded to a higher level of consciousness. And what I'd like to know is, can you talk to me about the higher self?
Okay. Right. We have a song called I Am Inside of You.
Mm.
And this song talks specifically about that. Now, I Am is the name of God. It was the name that Moses was given by the Ascended Master Sanak Kumara, who is the god of Earth, the god of Venus, and the god of another planet. It's the name that he said, that's the name of God, I Am. And the I Am presence is the presence of God within you, which lies behind your physical heart. It's a spiritual presence. A threefold flame, we might call it, and I'll explain that in a minute, that lies behind your physical heart. It's your connection to God. It's like a telephone line.
Mm.
Receiver on one end and receiver on the other. So if God wants to speak to you, he'll do it through your I Am presence. And you can speak to the God within you by your I Am presence, which is the God within you.
Which is the higher self.
Yes.
Mm. It's like because I guess my interpretation of what you just said there would be like a guiding force.
We might say that we are connected to God via a silver cord, which is an invisible spiritual cord, a spiritual connection, and that goes to the God presence in you, which we call it the threefold flame, which is where the name EL-Lea-Eye-Em comes from, because that represents the threefold flame. El being power, Le being love, and I being wisdom. So that's the threefold flame. They're the three core powers, or God powers, if you like, that reside within you. Okay. Jesus referred to it as the kingdom of God within you. And that is where all of your spiritual power comes from.
Which is the higher self.
Yes, most definitely. And if one is to get an understanding of spirituality in all its elements, one really needs to understand how important this threefold flame is, because it's like a giant library of spiritual information where you can find out the truth about anything. So you go within to your God self rather than go without, which is not really where you need to go. If you really want to find out, what the truth is about anything, any question that you might have, go within the kingdom of God within you, and you'll find the answers there.
So it's a little bit how perhaps I'm interpreting it is making a decision, the right decision or the wrong decision. It's sometimes we quite easily make a snap decision and it possibly would be the wrong decision. But if we step back and thought about it, step back and listen to our authenticity, we would make a better decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the things that you can do, and I do this myself, is you sit down quietly in in a chair in a very peaceful environment. Get yourself into a meditative state. Quiet yourself, slow your breathing down, and take, say, 9 really deep breaths. Then blow them out, do that, and that will really calm you down. And then ask the question that you have within, and wait and see what comes back. It might not come back immediately, but it might come back in a strange way. You're reading a book, and you read a line, or you're watching a movie, or you read a number plate on a car. It could be anything. That might be the thing that gives you the answer, or gives you the trigger that gives you the answer.
I shared a few hours with someone else that I know a couple of days ago who's very spiritual, and I presented with him with a real life situation, and my response was very negative, if you like. I suppose based on external influences, but his response was very, very authentic. It was very, very, very different to my response. But actually, I didn't agree with his response, but I completely got where he was coming from. And I said to him, I don't think I can change sides. And it was maybe about my fear. Maybe about I haven't gone deep inside myself to actually try to understand what he says. But but basically what he was doing was choosing to ignite his higher self to this scenario that I presented him with. And I'm still thinking about it now, about, could I actually jump from this side to that side with this specific example? And I'm still pondering. I like the idea of it, but could I? And I guess that's down to me. That's within me to find something, maybe my higher self, to challenge me to see whether I could go from there to there. And I guess that's what we're talking about with you, isn't it? It's always referring to take a step back, think of why, think of what you're doing, think of the outcome, think of the right and wrong, think of the consequences, thinking of your fears, thinking beyond that, removing that external influence, that external voice, and just making it very pure, and stripping it all back and making it as beautiful and as simple as it possibly can be.
I think that all human beings are sovereign beings. In other words, we are our own reality. We are completely we don't need an external influence, because all the answers we have within us.
But we do, don't we?
We do. So the trick is, in spiritual terms, is to develop this relationship with your higher self, or your I am presence, as I prefer to call it. Develop that relationship, and you will, what was it Jesus said, seek and you will find, knock and the door shall be open to you. Well, he's referring to your I am presence. When you ask questions of external forces, there is always the potential for you to give consent to things which may not be appropriate for you, may not be right for you. You are potentially giving your power to an external source. the truth is that you have all the power that you could possibly want within you. Because you have. You are a son and daughter of God. You are a co-creator with God. And you have God within you. You don't need external forces. Now, okay, we all, the process of rising up on the spiritual ladder to the point where we become an ascended master, like Jesus and Buddha and all the others, is whereby we rely less and less on external sources for guidance and for information, but more and more on the God within us. That's really, I suppose you could say, that is the fastest route to be an ascended being that there is. Just recognise that fact.
So can I ask then, Kim, do you apply that to absolutely everything you do?
Yes. However, it's a general statement, but let me try and give you some examples where perhaps that would not be appropriate, because we are talking about spiritual things here. Now, we have to remember that we are living in a physical environment. We're not up in heaven. We're down, walking on the earth plane, walking about, using our legs on the earth. And therefore we are dependent on certain earthly things. Now, for example, let's say one is walking along in a wood, one trips over a branch, falls down, breaks one's leg. What are you going to do? Are you going to ask your inner self to heal you? I think probably not appropriate. You need to get on your iPhone and call a doctor or an ambulance to come along and pick you up and take you to hospital where they'll fix your leg. So one has to be very careful that one doesn't take things too literally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that example, and I appreciate it's an example, but that is something that's happened to us rather than we've had control of it. So, for example, if I was to put that stick deliberately in your way to trip you over,
and you'd be creating.
Yeah, but do you see what I mean? It's like, I know you speed, okay, not. I know you like going fast. So
I never speed, but I do like going fast.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure what the difference is, Kim.
Well, it's acceleration.
Okay. But maybe that's not a good example, and maybe I should have thought about this. But I'm just trying to think of, there's got to be something yesterday that you did that was wrong. Did you tell someone to bugger
I'll tell you what I did wrong yesterday.
Then.
I ate a full pork pie. That's what I did wrong yesterday.
That's not really what I'm getting at. Do you know what?
My body didn't agree with it.
Do you know what? It takes me back to the conversation I had with my other friend a couple of days ago, and we were trying to started to get onto the debate of nature nurture, and in my head I was because of my psychology work and the work that I do with vulnerable people and also antisocial behaviour. That's not a very good title, but I was thinking paedophilia, and you just think there's a right and wrong there. So where does the higher self come in for that person? And I'm not alluding that to you. It's probably not a very good example, but what I'm trying to say is we as human beings do things wrong because we just do. So you must.
One has to remember that we live on a planet where there are dark forces who have for thousands of years been controlling us.
Okay.
And the way they control us is through fear. and they will tempt you. They will invite you to do things which certainly are not things that would be acceptable to your higher self. Certainly things that would be that would create karma. And these external forces will take you off the path.
Okay, I think I get that.
Now, when one is looking at the motivation behind certain actions, for example, paedophilia is the one that you brought up, a very unpleasant subject. One has to say, well, why are people inclined towards that activity? What was there some sort of original cause there? For example, was it that they were interfered with themselves? Were they on the receiving end of such activity? And did that make them angry and want to do it themselves? One has to go down the rabbit hole, as it were, to find out the cause. But I will repeat what I've just said a few moments ago. We have to look inside. We have to constantly look inside and rely less and less upon external forces.
Yeah.
Because those external forces on this planet have been incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And have kept the human race at a very low level in terms of consciousness. And what are the mechanisms that have done that? The media, the mass media.
Yeah.
The financial system. To a large extent, the medical system. The pharmaceuticals.
Real life, the real things that we deal with.
We are saturated with poisons. In the air, in the water, in our food, even in our clothes. That all these things have kept us in a low level of consciousness. So if by going inwards into the God within us, we can then find the truth of this unreal world that we've been living in, and make ourselves sovereign, so that those things do not affect us, do not give rise to fear within us, which stops us from rising up in spiritual terms. So it all comes back to the same thing. There, we all have tests in life. We're all tested. Sometimes we might resent the fact that we're being tested, although we may not realise that we're being tested, but we all go through tests. There are people that play dark roles in order to give us those tests. But I'll keep saying it and repeating it. We must try to become sovereign and try to rely less and less upon external things. And this is the secret to moving up the spiritual level.
And I actually do get it, and I do think it makes sense. I really do. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think some of the narrative you've used might be a bit complex, but I get the simplicity of the meaning. I do think, we do live in a very crazy world, which, majority of the time we love, but it is a crazy world. I do think sometimes it's easier said than done, but the raw theory, presence of what you've said, I absolutely do get, And it is something I sort of say to patients a lot of the time, let's just slow everything down. Everything, outside presence, outside forces, our thoughts, our negativity. Slow it down and just be with yourself, and then your decision making might be different.
You just prompted something. The controllers of the planet have very powerful mental powers. But they can only influence decisions that we make if we are in a low state of consciousness. In other words, in a state of fear. That's the way they can control us. So everything they do in terms of how they govern this planet is designed to keep us in a state of fear. All the wars, for example. There's a classic example. It has two functions. Keeps us in a low state of consciousness and enables them to rip us off financially, because wars are very profitable for those that have to supply all the goods of war. So this is why it's so important to try and remove oneself from such influences. But I have some good news. Those controllers have almost lost all of their power. We are at a point now in our evolution on this planet, our spiritual evolution, in other words, our consciousness level, which has been rising quite rapidly, where they no longer have the power that they had before. And this is why I've said previously that I have an extremely positive outlook on our future on this planet. It's amazing.
Okay.
And I will be talking about that.
Yeah,
some more.
I found I didn't realise that this question was going to open up so much, but I found it really interesting, the higher self. So hopefully everyone can sort of relate to it a bit or take bits from it. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's definitely, for me anyhow, thought-provoking. Which is why I was making notes halfway through, because my memory's terrible. But yeah, definitely thank you for sharing. Thought-provoking. Thank you.
Great.